I'm also very close to 400 subscribers, so if you guys want to help me out, please do so by hitting on that subscribe button. Today we're here to talk about Milan's season in general. We're going to be talking to you about the events, what happened in the season, and of course we're going to be talking to you about players, coaches, what happened in the season in general, matches as usual, and more. Some people are having problems at the moment actually watching the event. If people that you know are having problems actually going into the event, tell them to just refresh the page and should be there. But yeah, anyways, I see people already watching the live stream, so everything is good. We're just gonna start in a few minutes, guys. Please be patient. Some people are currently having problems to yeah, sorry. So yeah, some people are currently having problems just logging on, but that is about it. Anyways, we'll be starting really soon, as I said. And today, as I said, we'll be talking to you about pretty much the season in general, what happened this season, and obviously in the first half hour I'm going to be talking to you about the season that just happened, and the second half hour I'm going to be talking to you about players, coaches that might leave, that might come, just news in general. And so obviously in the second half an hour you guys could send me your questions, which is very important. You can send me your questions and I will be glad. Really just want to thank you guys for giving me the great amount of support throughout the weeks. The channel is pretty much up by 9 months, so it's been a long time since it all started, of course. And really just want to thank each and everyone for the great support. All the people that came and watched my videos week after week, the people that left comments, really thanks for all the support. Also want to thank lots of people in particular. I want to thank first of all Ricardo. I don't know if he's currently watching the stream, but I know that he's been really helping me, and yeah, he's been really helping me with promoting my videos. But there's also other people like Antonio, if you're watching, Milan Club Philly, that's always been supporting me, Jordan Spence, which also has a YouTube channel on AC Milan Kid, which posts videos and stuff regarding players. Lots of other people, guys. Really thanks to everyone that supported me. All the people from the Facebook group Forza Milan, We Are the Rossoneri, Milan Maniacs, Milan fans on Facebook. Thanks to everyone, guys, for obviously helping me out. And obviously I'm leaving some people out, but you know who you are. But I think it's time to start, of course, this live stream. So let's begin with starting to talk about Milan's season. Of course, a very controversial season, as we all know, a very difficult one indeed, as Milan were left with a very hard task before the season started, as Berlusconi sold our two best players at the moment, at that time, Thiago Silva and Ibrahimovic. They were sold to PSG. Obviously, no fan really liked that particular moment. Many hard times. We've been through many hard times since that day. And really, we thought that this team was going to go nowhere without these two players. Silvio Berlusconi obviously introduced us to a new project that he wanted to begin, which involved mainly the youth. And really, guys, from that month in July, we thought that this season was, as I said, we didn't win any of those two games. So our preseason started in very bad terms. After that, we had a friendly in Germany against Schalke, which was our first win of our season. But this was obviously the preseason part, with a goal from Emanuelson, which gave us the win in that one. After that, we went to North America to play the World Football Challenge, where we met big teams such as Champions League winners Chelsea, Real Madrid, and other teams as well. But we lost on versus Real Madrid in that one, 5-1, a very bad game. And I believe that is exactly when we signed Zapata, just a few days later. So obviously very confusing times back then, and it really seems like yesterday, but back then in August we were having really confusing times. And as I said, not what we wanted to see as usual. We got blown out in New York against Madrid. We did win against the Champions League winners though, Chelsea, 1-0, thanks to a goal from once again Emmanuelson, which in the preseason really showed he could do good to this team, getting a few goals for himself. We also played against Olympia on August 4th, which is a Honduras team, I believe. And we did win that game 3-1. And finally, the last preseason game was against Juventus for the traditional Trofeo Luigi Berlusconi, which was played in Milan. This game, we went on to lose 3-2. The 2 goals were scored by Robinho. And really, once again, I still remember this day like it was yesterday. We really had no idea of what we were doing, not playing as we should have. Obviously, no game plan, no tactics. And I remember this game as it was yesterday, as I said. And I thought to myself that it was going to be a really tough season. And really, it was going to be a really tough start for Milan this year. By the way, this was what happened in the preseason. I'll be talking to you about the season at the moment. I just want to tell you all that please, guys, leave your comments in the comments section. Please send your comments, as in the second half hour I'll be talking. Obviously, we still had to play them and try to win our group and obviously progress from it. But I'll be talking to you guys about that later on as I reach those matches in my Serie A review. After that, after the first Milan-Sampdoria game, we went to Bologna, where Pazzini had his first game in a Rossonero jersey. And he won the game for Milan as he scored a hat-trick for them. Getting 3 goals in the first game in the debut for Milan is obviously something quite great for Milan and for the player himself. Obviously a good ratio for himself as well. But that victory wasn't something that proved that Milan were back in the season. Obviously it was still very early stages. And after that, we had lost against Atalanta once again at home by 1-0 was the scoreline. So in 2 games at home, we obviously didn't start on the good foot. We had lost both games, and obviously very bad for our team because we never had such a bad start in the Serie A in our history. After that was our first Champions League game, which we played against Anderlecht. That was a 0-0 draw game. Very boring game. I still remember it. Very boring game. Milan tried to create possession, but I believe we got like 1 or 2 shots on target that game. Really nothing promising. And really very bad game in terms of appearance and skill altogether. After that, we played against Udinese on September 23rd away. From home. We played in their field at the Friuli, and Udinese won that match 2-1. The goal scorer for Milan was El Shaarawy, the first goal of El Shaarawy this season, and really it was a great goal by El Shaarawy. And in that match there were also 2 red cards, one to Zapata, one to Boateng. So the season really didn't start on the good foot for Milan, as we only got 1 win in 4 games. Which is really embarrassing, I could say. After that, we played a few days later Cagliari at home. And finally, we received our first home win against them as points that we got. After that, we actually played our second game in the Champions League, where we played against Zenit. We played Zenit in Russia, a team that is very strong on home soil. And that game we won with 3 goals to 2, where Emmanuelson, El Shaarawy, and An own goal from Ubokan made a difference as we got 3 points in the standings. Right now we had 1 draw and 1 win at that point, so we couldn't really complain as far as the Champions League results were. Going back to the Serie A, really, after that we played against Lazio, where we lost once again, 5 losses in 8 games. And going back home, we played against Genoa, winning 1-0 with, once again, a goal from El Shaarawy. Palermo 2-2, once again, away from home, with a goal from Montolivo and El Shaarawy. After that, we played against Chievo, which was one of our biggest wins actually this season, with 5-1. And there were 5 different scorers on the game sheet for this one, as Emanuelson, Montolivo, Bojan, El Shaarawy, and Pazzini got goals in this game. So obviously at this point everyone thought that Milan was back with such a great win, 5-1, obviously a great win. But unfortunately it wasn't as so, as the next game we played against Fiorentina at home, and we did lose 3-1. A game that in the later stages of the season could have actually made the difference. I'll be talking to you about that later. But the turning point in this season was actually the 2-2 draw against Napoli. Now, in that game, we played against Napoli away from home. We played at the San Paolo, where Napoli actually took a 2-0 lead in that game, with goals coming from Inler and Insigne. But just before halftime, El Shaarawy scored a magnificent goal, a astonishing finish from outside the box on a one-timer to reduce the lead to only 1 goal for Napoli at halftime. And just minutes away from the final whistle, El Shaarawy got himself another goal, and he managed to get a tie. The final match of the first round of games was against Siena, where we won 2-1. And after the first half of the season, we ended with lots of losses, 7 losses to be exact, which is a large number in 19 games. And Milan, in order to get a good result and in order to get to the Champions League, was gonna need a second half, a tremendous second half, a second half with barely any mistakes. And we did. We had a good second half with barely any mistakes. But just before getting there, I want to conclude the group stage matches for the Champions League that we played in. So we did lose after that win against Zenit. We did lose against Malaga. We tied against Malaga. We won against Anderlecht, and then we lost in the last game against Zenit, but we already had secured the qualification at that point. So as I said, we ended in the top 2 in the group stage, which gives us a bye, gives us a passage to the round of 16 in the Champions League, which will be played in February. And we actually get paired up against Barcelona. So I will be talking to you about those matches when we reach the review, when we reach those matches to review. Now, getting back to the games in the second half of the season, we started off with a draw against Sampdoria, 0-0. Very boring match. After that, we got 3 wins in a row against Bologna, Atalanta, and Udinese. After that, we were held to a 1-1 tie against Cagliari, a 2-1 win against Parma, a 1-1 tie against Inter. At that point, we were doing pretty well in the second half of the season, as we managed to get 4 wins and 3 ties in 7 games, which was pretty good for us to even advance in the standings, and of course tried to aim for the top 3 finish at the end of the season. But after that match against Inter, Milan were to play against Barcelona. Actually, the game against Barcelona was a few days before the derby against Inter. And Milan against, we played in a very conservative fashion, not very attacking. Obviously, Niang had a good chance by giving Milan a good advantage, but unfortunately he had hit the post, and really we can't blame him, because at that age it's even quite incredible to think you'd be playing against Barcelona at the Camp Nou, which is really incredible. Not everyone could reach those stages at such a young age. And at that point, we were out of the competition. We were out of the Champions League. Obviously, we have to hold our heads high after that game, because we did manage a win against Barcelona, which is really impressive. But overall, a loss like that is obviously not something that we wanted. But at that point, we had to think about the season. We had to think about getting results in the season, and obviously trying to reach the third place finish at least in the season. And I think the loss against Barcelona came at a good time, because after that we knew that we had to focus on the season and not on two things. And many times when you focus on two things, you don't get one done. And I believe that that loss to Barcelona came at the right time, because technically Milan wasn't ready to go to a further stage in the Champions League. We were going to face really tough teams such as Bayern Munich, which completely demolished Barcelona in this Champions League season. And we were going to really face tougher teams. So really at that point, it was good how it ended, really. Going back to the season, guys, we went 4 games in a row with wins after that loss against Barcelona. And in those 4 games, we conceded no goals. So 4 clean sheets with 4 wins for Milan at that stage. And at this point, we're in April, where we're playing against Fiorentina, one of our contenders for that race in the 3rd place. We're playing in Florence in that game, where Milan presently have a 2-0 lead, and Tagliavento, the referee, calls 2 penalty shots for Fiorentina, 1 inexistent. We had some pretty easy fixtures. We played Catania, where we almost lost, but Pazzini saved us with 2 goals in a few minutes. And after that we played Torino, Pescara, a very easy game. We won 4-0. The second last game of the season, where we tied 0-0 against Roma. And finally, we reached the last game of the season. At this point, the situation was pretty clear. Milan needed the win. They couldn't play in a bad way. They couldn't lose this match, as Fiorentina were only 2 points behind them. And with a win against Pescara, and anything less than a win for Milan against Siena, really Milan was going to end 4th place. And Fiorentina was going to take the last Champions League spot. Now, Milan started very bad this game, as in the first half they went down 1 goal, thanks to a goal from Terzi, I believe, where the defense was completely caught off guard, and Milan really couldn't manage for a tie in this game. They needed the win. And in the last 10 minutes, Milan got the miracle, where Balotelli converted from the penalty shot, and just a few minutes from the final whistle, Mexes gave Milan the win, the 3 points, and the 3rd spot in the Serie A standings, which resulted in giving us a Champions League possibility for next year. Now this result, obviously, lots of controversies. In the Europa League, what do we care? We don't care if Udinese made the Europa League or not. We care about ourselves and our results. We're not talking about Juventini winning the title or whatever. It's something that I don't understand. And also the Viola fans saying that they won, that we won based on paying players and stuff, paying the refs and stuff like that. I really don't understand this either, because Fiorentina, let's face it, they had a very big advantage on Milan at the second half of the season when it started. They had a very big advantage like many other teams had, like Lazio, like Inter. And based on whatever Milan would have done, even if something happened, you guys are to blame for yourselves. Because Milan could have got all the results in the world that they wanted. But if you can't win your games, and if you're losing your games, that's your personal problem, guys. That's your personal problem. Because if you would have thought about your games and winning them, think about Milan buying games, if anything, wasn't even going to be a possibility. Because you guys would have made it easily to the Europa League and so on. Now, that's what I'm saying. You guys really, it makes no sense to talk about buying games when you guys are at fault of losing games yourselves. And how could a team like Fiorentina even talk about making the Champions League when they lose at home against Pescara? For me, it's something that I don't understand really. And it's something that Fiorentina, I'm not saying anything. They had a really good season. But some comments are very, very surprising from their fans and from the staff themselves. Anyways, a kid that's been starting in his first season in the Serie A. Last year he played a few games, but this season was his first starting season really. And it's a lot of goals for a starter, guys. We can't only look at the goals and say, yes, in the second half he didn't score goals, stuff like that. Because we have to say, guys, that many times it's not only the goals that come in, but it's also the effort that player give. And El Shaarawy, he never said anything when Allegri was benching him for some games. Never said anything, completely understood the situation, completely understood that it's a team game and that games are won as a team and not individually. So I like what El Shaarawy has been doing all season. I'm very happy for him. I'm very happy for all the goals he scored and what he gave Milan this season. And the second half of the season, we know that the signing of Balotelli proved the difference, guys. Balotelli really gave us the cherry on the cake because really, guys, without him, I don't think we would have been anywhere. Think about it. El Shaarawy was going to have to put through with us for 38 games in the season. And I don't think any player at that age has a form that's that great to score in such a current fashion. What I mean by this, it's a form that's been consecutive. It's something that really at that age you can't really expect. And as I said, he did a good work. Balotelli scored the goals in the second half of the season and gave us this third place thanks to his goals. But we also have to think about the defense and obviously our goalkeeper Abbiati, because we have to say that we had an amazing defense in the second half. We only conceded 12 goals in 19 games, which is quite good, quite impressive. We got many more clean sheets, which also resulted in which we didn't need to win games by a big fashion, by a big scoreline, in order to win them. One goal oftentimes was enough. So we have to give praise to all the members in the team, guys, because really, obviously these players are very fast, very young, very promising. I don't think that Abate should leave because he's still very young, and yes, while his crossing is quite awful, he still shows a lot. He still shows a lot, and still, how could I say this? Shows that strength that Milan need. Very fast, very good in tackling, and overall, I think he's a good player. De Sciglio this season started this season very low expectations from him. Instead, he gave what Milan were lacking. Very good on the wing, as well as Constant that did a good job all season. So I have to say, guys, as for the defense goes, the center backs Maxes and Zapata will probably come back next year. Zapata renewed a few days ago. And obviously we're going to need some signings. Would be good to get Ogbonna, of course. But I believe Milan will get one player in the defense and one player in the midfield. As for the mids, really it's a point where we need to improve, because we only have Montolivo as a playmaker. We have no one else. So we really need to improve in the midfield. As for the other midfielders, we have Ambrosini that's probably going to leave this season. Many teams are calling him from England, from the US. And personally, I think he should leave. Nocerino really didn't have a good season compared to his last one where he scored 10 goals. We have Flamini that showed some good stuff in the final stretch of the season. Montari, that he's known for his aggressiveness, but really, guys, he's not a player that could do that much damage to teams. And really, it's a place where we need to obviously invest in. And this all depends on Silvio, what Berlusconi thinks about this, and what he's gonna do. Fully will depend if Allegri remains or not, because apparently Poli was a plan was based on a plan from Allegri, and if Allegri leaves, the next manager might not want Poli. So we're gonna have to see what happens on that player. Yeah, that's about it for the questions. If you guys have any more questions, please feel free to actually send them. Just a conclusion on this live event. I just want to tell everyone concerning Allegri, obviously a hot topic, obviously something that Milan will need to overcome, will need to decide about, and this is my take on it, guys. This is my take on it. In the last few days, the Curva Sud released a statement saying that they believe that Allegri should remain, or at least Berlusconi should hire an experienced coach, which I completely agree on, and not look at Sedov. Of course, there's been many rumors in these past few weeks saying that Sedov was going to be the next coach of Milan, which could still happen. I'm not saying anything. But personally, I believe that it's not the case. It's not the case because Sedov is a player. He's not a coach yet. He still doesn't have his coaching license. He has experience, but what do we know about him as a coach? Not much. And that is something that worries me in a way, because we started this project from zero last season, and we obviously built the structure of this project little by little, and now we're at a good point, and I believe in the next season we could do a better job with the team that we currently have if Allegri or an experienced coach comes. And this is what I mean by in general, guys. Just want to thank everyone for coming out today and watching the live stream. Thanks for giving the support as usual. I really appreciate it. And thanks for leaving your comments. Just want to thank everyone once again for the great support they gave all season round. And if you guys want to, obviously, if you guys are still watching this and you want to rerun, the live stream will be available for you guys on my videos later on today. And that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. And as usual, guys, there are a few next appointments I want to be talking to you about, actually. There are the international friendlies coming in next week and the week after, before Italy makes their way to the Confederations Cup in mid-June, where I will obviously be doing the match reports for that. And that's about it for the month of June. And July, obviously, I will be covering all the preseason action from Milan. And I will keep you posted on all of that. Also, guys, I want to mention that later today there will be a big video coming up. It's a surprise. I don't want to mention what it is exactly, but I'm pretty sure you'll like what I've done. Thanks for watching, guys. As usual, Forza Milan. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.